Give your salespeople a new perspective on how to connect with their customers. And the reason it's called Focus Sales Strategies is because there is a focus on the customer and on the buyer, not necessarily on the agenda of the salesperson. In the Focus Sales Strategies program, the way we work it is it's very engaging. People who attend will be put in situations and scenarios where they will have to find a way to solve problems and really gain insights on what their selling styles are and how they interact with people, primarily their customers in the buying mode. So for that reason, the objectives of the program, and if I stand here, can you see on either side? All right, because you're back there, so I'm coming up. So the Focus Sales Strategies program is going to explore the customer-focused selling opportunities, cultivate positive customer connections. It's also going to proactively address objections. That's a big issue for a lot of people. They always ask, will you be handling objections? The neat thing about the focused sales process is that if you do it right and you're really focused on the buyer and you're really focused on your customer at all times within the process, you shouldn't have a lot of objections. And that makes people really happy, salespeople and sales managers. And lastly, you also talk about value statements, because what it comes down to is how much value are you really offering your customer? And you might think you're offering value, but the question is, what is the perceived value? Is the buyer perceiving the value that you think you're offering? Keeps us in line. Who can fill in these blanks? Buyers are getting better at buying. I'll give you a hint. Sellers are getting better at selling. Great. What's here to stay? Every sale encounters, besides objection, competition. All right? And in the buyer's mind, there exists less what than ever before? Value, possibly. But because there's more competition, they don't see as much differentiation as they've seen before. They're looking at black and white. And your answer, the best you could do for the customers is to offer them, everybody together. Very good. So it brings me to the question of who are the buyers? Depending on what kind of institution you are, healthcare, bank, retailer, whatever, these buyers come with very different sets of buying criteria and ideas about what they think they're going to be investing in. So you might take, if you look here in the column that says the who, you have people at the top level, executive sales, heads of companies, presidents, and people like that. Then you have people on down the line from the vice president to the very unsophisticated buyer who might be buying a lower investment product or service. And each one of those has different needs. Some buy value, some are looking for technical aspects, some are looking for the actual product or the service. The higher up you go, the more value they're usually looking, and you connect it more to the value of the sale. This is a critical part of the program. The program helps teach the sales reps or the retail reps or whoever your people are interfacing with your customers and buyers, focused on all the opportunity within the entire process. So it's not just enough to work through the probing and the closing and all that standard buying cycle, but really get in tune with what the customer is feeling and thinking throughout the sales process. So here, throughout the sales process, think about the last time you purchased something. Who purchased something recently? What did you purchase?
A TV.
Okay, flat screen? Obviously. There's not many left that aren't, right? So you purchased a flat screen TV. How did you become aware? You were aware at some point, I think I need a flat screen TV. Mm-hmm. What happened?
I went online.
You went online. So first you became aware. Then something happened, some tipping point that you went from, I think I want a flat screen TV or I need a flat screen TV to, I'm definitely getting a flat screen TV. Was there a tipping point for you?
I moved.
You moved.
So I sold my old TV.
So you were TV-less.
I was TV-less.
Okay. So now you're in that mode of, wow, there's a demand, there's a tipping point. I'm definitely going out and buying something, which your curiosity then kicked in and you started doing your research. Along the way, you discovered different solutions that presented themselves and became available. And then you said, I'm ready. Did you say that?
Yeah, I knew I needed one.
Okay, so you were ready.
Okay.
So you're ready to go. And at that point, you make your investment. And then the customer engagement starts when the item or the service or the product is delivered. And then the big part is the sustainability, to try to keep that buyer forever. You want to be so entrenched in their head. Now the opportunity, as I mentioned, is for you to connect in each of these stages. Be with the buyer along their journey. Which brings me to, how will they choose you? Well, there's a number of ways they're going to choose you. If you're really empathetic and you show that you're there for them, you're walking in their shoes, you're feeling their pain, you're on this journey with them. You're in the passenger seat. Everything they go through, you go through, and you're walking along with them. So down here it says they trust you, you make them shine, you create value for them, and now they see you as a resource. You're not the sales rep, you're the resource, and you're very critical to the whole buying process. Speaking of the buyer-focused sales process, if you look at the sales process we just looked at in the value chain, what's happening to the buyer along the way? Along the way, they're encountering change. They have a lot of challenges. They have to look at solutions. They have to compare solutions and develop concerns. All this has to happen for them to make a purchase. As the seller, what you should be concerned with is really studying the prospect, not just trying to find out that word buying criteria we've always heard about. There's more to it than that. Really finding out what their needs are, which will feed into the criteria, and sooner or later the solution will present itself. But along the way, as they have concerns, as I mentioned, you're in the journey with them, so you're concerned too. So the new mindset, this is the old sales that people were taught for a long time: prospect, probe, close, build rapport, all that. And what happens is that people get stuck in the process, sometimes depending on how the process is presented. And it's not really presented in the buyer mode. It's presented from the sales mode. Here's how you sell. But nobody's saying here's how they buy. And that's what this program does. It connects you to the customer with a new mindset of listening and sharing and communicating and partnering, even to the point of maybe socializing. I know I had customers, I sold copiers, and I had customers at my wedding. Why did I have customers at my wedding? Because for me, I have to have a relationship with my customers and my buyers, and to the point of where I need to be social with them. We have to be friends, and then they buy. And it was a good thing. So within the buyer-focused sales process, all the things we talked about before, the awareness, the demand, the exploration, you're feeding off the energy of the customer, and you're literally plugging into the power of your customer and your buyer. If you understand all this, there's tremendous power behind it. So let's look, for example, where's the power in each of those steps? I'm not sure we'll get through every step, but we'll work on this. So for instance, awareness. What happens in the awareness cycle? A need presents itself because of some kind of circumstance. You moved, you needed a TV. The need can be negative or positively driven. What would be a negative driven need?
TV was stolen, it wasn't.
See, that's right, stolen. It was.
My favorite TV was stolen.
Okay, that's negative, or broken, or something like that. And then a positive could be, getting a better TV. Or maybe you got a bigger house, a bigger room. Bigger house. So it doesn't have to necessarily always be something's broken and needs to be fixed. There have been sales methodologies that say find the pain. If there's no pain and you can't fix the pain and they don't perceive they're in pain, then what are you going to fix? Do you just walk out? I like to think that every time you encounter a buyer, there's an opportunity for you. So then we go, okay, what about the buyer mentality? Where's the buyer in the awareness stage? Well, the buyer begins to think that they really need to make a change, and they're starting to consider that. And they're looking at relieving or changing or enhancing their current situation. They're not necessarily convinced at this point, though, that they have to make a change. Nothing's happened that says it has to happen right now. No tipping point at that point. So the opportunity for the seller is, at this point, you go in, you're the hero. I educate you. I know how you feel. It seems like you're considering this in the future. What are some things that would have to happen for change to take place? And then they start to be on the lookout. You're planting the seed of change in their mind. And they start to be on the lookout for something that might happen. And now you've planted these seeds, and all of a sudden something happens, and they said, oh my gosh, the sales rep, they don't think about it this way, the sales rep said that might happen, he was right or she was right because this is already happening. So you had tremendous insights to the customer's business, and it also puts a pulse on their pain. Now you can say, is there any pain? Or is there, what are you looking to make better? That's on the awareness stage. So you understand how this works, you understand what's in the stage, and then you understand first and foremost where the buyer is in that stage, not where you are. And then how do you bring yourself and show up? Let's look at another one, demand. So now the need becomes clearly evident. Some kind of tipping point, something happens, you move, you don't have a TV, and there's a call to action. I have to make a change. Something has to happen here. So the buyers, now they realize that they have to make a change, that there's no other alternative but to consider other options. And they consider the impact of making a decision. They also become emotionally attached. And how many of you have thought about the aspect of the emotional attachment during a sale? What have your thoughts been around that?
Man, well, I mean, my phone, I have a very strong emotional attachment to my phone.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when my phone doesn't work, it's like my lifeline.
Right.
So I think, I don't know, like buying a phone is important.
Exactly.
Now it is. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't,
Exactly. Thank you. Yes?
You might pay a little more if you felt so emotionally attached to something. So, whereas, maybe if it's just something like a box of cereal, like, I'm not paying $10 for a box of cereal, but
Right.
if it goes back to a hierarchy of needs, it's my phone, I really love it, I'm gonna pay whatever I have to pay to get the phone I want.
That's right. And thank you for sharing. And that emotional attachment is what's going to drive things forward from this point. And not the emotional part of having empathy for your customer and you being emotionally attached to your customer, but the customer now being emotionally attached to the buying experience. And that's going to dictate to you, really drive the whole sale of how much they're willing to go out on a limb, what are they looking to do, where's their safe zone, and everything you do beyond this point. So considering the buyer mentality here, their mentality and what they're willing to do to drive change is huge. It's a big step. And then your opportunity is embellish that emotion, whatever it is, happiness, sadness, or anything in between. Ask questions, ask powerful questions to get them talking about it more so that they really feel it and sense it. And the more you talk together about that, you're now involved. They can't help but not involve you. And you're showing empathy and you're planting seeds of hope and resilience. So now they see a future. I know I have to make a change. They're kind of scared at this point, and that's okay because you have a future and you're going to feel really good about it. I'll move through a few more of the steps. You have exploration, no other alternative. Now they have to explore something new. They're no longer if we change, but how are we going to do it? How is this going to happen? You're still in that kind of fear mode and not really knowing the mode of just not sure how things are going to take place. But now you're saying, okay, I can envision something better. I can envision a better future. I can envision having another alternative. So again, back to the buyer mentality. Challenged with the thought of options and possibilities. They consider the outward benefits right now, not the intrinsic benefits. So until you take them through the latter parts of the sale, they're thinking, all right, I need a TV, it's going to be bigger, it's going to fit in the room, but they're not considering all the intrinsic benefits that will come with that later on, and how it's going to impact your life, and how it's going to maybe be a social setting for you to have other people over and everybody can see now. And they're bombarded by alternatives. Here's where the competition comes in. And we know there's lots of it. Now the competition, they're going to go out there and look. They're not just going to look at printed material. They're going to ask friends. They might tweet people. They're going to go online. They're going to visit stores. There's so much competition out there. And so now they're in the mode of looking in the competition, but that's a great opportunity for you. Why is that a great opportunity for you? In a buyer-focused approach. Where's the opportunity for you? Don't look. So the opportunity for you is that now they're so overwhelmed, but because you've already connected with them in the awareness and the demand stage and all the other stages, 2 of them before here, guide them through that. This must be so overwhelming for you. I would not want to be in your shoes. But I'm here to help you. I've been there before. And I've seen other customers of mine go through the same thing. Would you like to know how they made their decisions? Would you like to know some of the things they considered? All of a sudden now, you're in the driver's seat and you are partnering with your potential customer. So here's your opportunity. You don't look to inform. You're not just throw information at them, but you're going to talk to them. You're going to guide them through the transformation that the product or service is going to offer them. You're going to assume responsibility for guiding their journey. Don't worry about it. I'll take the pressure off of you. Ultimately, I know you're going to want the ultimate decision, but at the same time, let me help you. Why should you assume all that responsibility? It's tough out there. It's a jungle. And be the calm in the storm, so that you can then lead them to start discovering solutions on their own. Things start to emerge. They start to figure out which one's more viable. They start to consider their decision, their mentality. I'm going to connect. They're now emotionally committed to that change. It's definitely taken place, and I'm okay with it. I'm not afraid of it anymore. I'm really starting to be okay. And it's not how, but when. So we went from if to how. Now it's how to when. And here's the opportunities in here, which is help them establish the buying criteria. You're painting the landscape for the better future, and you're connecting them to the logical choice. So you work in the class. What we do is we work through each of these steps. And there are exercises that are designed specifically to guide each person through. Sometimes it's individual, sometimes it's in groups. And it's guided discovery, so that they discover on their own how to own each step of this process. Now, I mentioned about the handling objections. How does this impact the handling objection portion? I mentioned that there probably would be less objections if you do this right. It's also, the close kind of comes to its own conclusion. What are your thoughts about that? How does that happen? Why does connecting with the customer at every point of that buyer process?
You built their trust. You got their trust.
You built trust. That's right. What else?
Well, you're flushing out objections along the way.
Exactly, you're flushing out objections because you've built trust. You're flushing it out. And they'll ask questions because they trust that you're going to have the right answer. Anything else? All right, so can you see the value of that? So, and the question, the word, the value comes in by you being the expertise, bringing the trust, bringing the knowledge. Whatever the customer seems to need, you're always the one on the doorstep with that information. And that's what the buyer-focused sales process is all about. And the same would happen with the investment. It takes you all the way through to the actual, let's go back to delivery. In the delivery mode where the product's actually delivered, and now how does the customer feel? How does that buyer feel? What's their mentality? How do you feel when you get something new? Good to some degree, right? Why might sometimes, what else is in there with the good sometimes? Remorse. I'm great at remorse. I'm like the take back queen. My family makes fun of me because I buy stuff and it all goes back. Very few things get kept. So now you're thinking, you have excitement because I finally made a decision. Hopefully I'm going to look really good because of the decision I made with the guidance of my salesperson. But at the same time, there's a little fear there, right? There's fear about, I hope they like it, and I hope the people up top see the value in the investment that I made. But that's your job to make sure that happens. Sustainability is big because now that that's in there, you want repeat business. You want the customer to be happy. Sometimes repeat business could be within the same account or the same customer environment. Sometimes it's nice to have a referral or multiple referrals, or even better. And the way that you do that is to, again, hone in on the mentality. They're looking at the return on investment. Get in their face, show them, point out the value that they're experiencing. Walk around, look at the people using the products and services. Report back to them. I can't help but notice how engaged your people are with the new product or service. I can't help but notice that it seems like, maybe it's even changing morale because they're embracing the new way of doing things. And here's some other things which I think you can get more mileage out of what you already have. And by the way, in your mind, more mileage means you're going to tax whatever they have so that in the future they need more. And that's where you come in. So that's the whole beauty of the process, the fact you make the difference. You want to add value to every single step of the process. You tap into the buyer's emotions and be aware of the triggers. You'll minimize objections and you'll gain the sale and you'll gain their trust. Questions on the buyer-focused selling? Does it make sense?
How long is the class?
About 4 hours.
About 4 hours.
Yes. Anything else? Okay. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the day.